is Cabanas Angela and
Brigoli.
This is Shaira Mae Catubig.
and today I will make a video about the novel or a summarization of this novel entitled 1984 by George Orwell. And this novel, I think, is the most notable and famous novel made by George Orwell. And let's go! Winston Smith is a low-ranking member of the ruling party in London, in the nation of Oceania. Everywhere Winston goes, even his own home, the party watches him through telescreens. Everywhere he looks, he sees the face of the party's seemingly omniscient leader, a figure known only as Big Brother. The party controls everything in Oceania, even the people's history and language. Currently, the party is forcing the implementation of an invented language
As the Newspeak
called
Committee.
Newspeak.
Working overtime?
Butter, 2%. Milk, 6%.
Plus big wastage and adjectives.
8%. Must, 3%.
Plus big problem is timing the language to scientific advance.
Pork, 3%.
Yes.
Poultry, 9%.
It's a beautiful thing, the destruction of words.
Currently, the party is forcing the implementation of an invented language called Newspeak, which attempts to prevent political rebellion by eliminating all words relating to it. And even thinking rebellious thoughts is illegal. Such thought crime is, in fact, the worst of all crimes. Now, as the novel opens, Winston feels frustrated by the oppression and rigid control of the party, which prohibits free thought, sex, and any expression of individuality. Now, Winston dislikes the party and has illegally purchased a diary in which to write his criminal thoughts, and he has also become fixated on a powerful party member named O'Brien, whom Winston believes is a secret member of the Brotherhood. Now, the mysterious, legendary group that works to overthrow the party. Winston works in the Ministry of Truth, where he alters historical records to fit the needs of the party. He notices a co-worker, a beautiful dark-haired, staring at him, and worries that she is an informant who will turn him in for his thought crime. Now, he is troubled by the party's control of history. The party claims that Oceania has always been allied with East Asia in a war against Eurasia. But Winston seems to recall a time when this was not true. The party also claims that Emmanuel Goldstein, that alleged leader of the Brotherhood, is the most dangerous man alive. But this does not seem possible to Winston. So Winston spends his evenings wandering through the poorest neighborhoods in London, where the proletarians or proles lives relatively free of party monitoring. One day, Winston received a note from the dark-haired girl that reads, "I love you." She tells him her name, and she is Julia, and they begin a covert affair, always on the lookout for signs of party monitoring. Eventually, they rent a room above the second-hand store in the Pearl district where Winston bought the diary. This relationship lasts for some time, and Winston is sure that they will be caught and punished sooner or later. Or the fatalistic Winston knows that he has been doomed since he wrote his first diary entry. Now, while Julia is more pragmatic and optimistic, as Winston's affair with Julia progresses, his hatred for the party grows more and more intense. At last, he received the message that he has been waiting for. O'Brien wants to see him. Now, Winston and Julia travel to O'Brien's luxurious apartment. As a member of the powerful inner party, which is Winston belongs to the outer party, O'Brien leads a life of luxury that Winston can only imagine. Now, O'Brien confirms to Winston and Julia that, like them, he hates the party and says that he works against it as a member of the Brotherhood. He indoctrinates Winston and Julia into the Brotherhood and gives Winston a copy of Emmanuel Goldstein's book and the Manifest of the Brotherhood. Now, Winston reads the book, an amalgam of several forms of class-based 20th century social theory, to Julia in the room above the store. Suddenly, soldiers barge in and seize them. Now, Mr. Charrington, the proprietor of the store, is revealed as having been a member of the thought police all along. Turned away from Julia and taken to a place called the Ministry of Love.
My daughter found it out.
Winston finds that O'Brien, too, is a party spy who simply pretended to be a member of the Brotherhood in order to trap Winston into committing an open act of rebellion against the party. Now, O'Brien spends months torturing and brainwashing Winston, who struggles to resist. At last, O'Brien sends him to the dreaded room 101, the final destination for anyone who opposes the party. Here, O'Brien tells Winston that he will be forced to confront his worst fear. Throughout the novel, Winston has had recurring nightmares about rats, and O'Brien now straps a cage full of rats onto Winston's head and prepares to allow the rats to eat his face. Now, Winston snaps, pleading with O'Brien to do it to Julia, not to him. Giving up, Julia is what O'Brien wanted from Winston all along. His spirit broken, Winston is released to the outside world. He meets Julia but no longer feels anything for her. He has accepted the party entirely and has learned to love Big Brother.
Who was George Orwell? George Orwell was a novelist, essayist, and critic best known for his novels, Animal Farm and 1984. He was a man of strong opinions who addressed some of the major political movements of his times, including imperialism, fascism, and communism. In his early life, Orwell was born Eric Arthur Blair in Motihari, India on June 25, 1903. The son of a British civil servant, Orwell spent his first days in India where his father was stationed. His mother brought him and his older sister Marjorie to England about a year after his birth and settled in Henley-on Thames. Orwell took up writing at an early age, reportedly composing his first poem around age 4. He later wrote, "I had a lonely child's habit of making up stories and holding conversations with imaginary persons, and I think from the very start my literary ambitions were mixed up with the feeling of being isolated and undervalued." One of his first literary successes came at the age of 11 when he had a poem published in a local newspaper. What is Newspeak and what is its purpose? Newspeak is the official language of Oceania. It has been created to meet the needs of Ingsoc. Newspeak provides a way to express the views of Ingsoc and to make all other types of thought impossible. A purposely ambiguous and confusing language with restricted grammar and limited vocabulary, according to Orwell, to diminish the range of thought. For example, in Newspeak, the term plus good had replaced words better and great. One of the answers that came to him was developing a fictional language called Newspeak. He drew from the grammar rules of English and the Russian manner of abbreviating government-related terms like Politburo and Komsomol for the basic structure of Newspeak. Now, most people would probably say that our ability to speak, to form sentences, and communicate our thoughts sets humans apart from other animals because it allows us to hear and understand other viewpoints than our own. Our minds are freed by language, but the basic idea behind Newspeak is the complete and total opposite. In the world of 1984, Newspeak was created by totalitarian overlords of Oceania, with its fictional leader known as Big Brother, in order to actually limit free thought and free speech. In totalitarian governments, those in charge to control every aspect of citizens' lives, even down to personal habits. For the citizens of fictional Oceania, this control extends to the very language they use in an attempt by a government to control their very thoughts. Big Brother is the supreme ruler of Oceania, the leader of the party, a master inventor and philosopher, and the original instigator of the revolution that brought the party to power. The party uses this image of Big Brother to instill a sense of loyalty and fear in the populace. The image appears on coins, on telescreens, and on the large posters which are plastered all over the city with the slogan, Big Brother is watching you. The idea of Big Brother is sufficient to keep the people living in state of fear, and the fact that no one seems to have ever seen him may make him even more effective as a leader.
George Orwell's 1984 novel. There are some vocabulary words that we can relate to contemporary setting. One of it is the word dystopian. Dystopian refers to a state or society where there is great suffering or injustice. In our current world, there is so much dystopian occur, and let us consider the pandemic in it. Because of the pandemic, all of the people experience great sufferings, experience injustice to loved ones whom they fake positive to COVID cases. Dystopian to society was never been a joke to encounter, wherein the fact that it faces pure sufferings towards humanity, it also trapped us in struggling to escape that leads to question the existing of social and political systems. In this trying time of pandemic, in the midst of dystopian society, may we still put hope in our heart that will bring life arose in our lifeless world and society. Euphemism. Euphemism is a replacing of word by using mild, comforting words in order to make sentence sound less offensive. In contemporary world, the traits and audacity to people to speak up in against to something they want to vote for is unreluctant nowadays. This is technically by the help of technology, social medias, that for me influences the most in human behavior. And because of it, people tend to consider trash talks, shitposts, and other quarrels that people do in social medias. Euphemism is something that we, people, needs to consider. May it be a simple thing to know but gives a great impact for our good deeds as a person. As Quentin Crisp quoted, euphemisms are unpleasant truths wearing diplomatic cologne. Though it is true that you filtered in your emotional truth, but the thing is, you chose to approach good, and it is a very professional way to live in. The Newspeak of George Orwell's 1984 is an eye-opener for linguistic majors, since it is a science that studies words and languages, and the central theme of the novel is politics and the English language. Orwell shows in his novel the interest of linguistic questions and questions pertaining to the function and change of language. The significance of this is that the novel brings us back to humor in terms of political injustices that in this world We should always be mindful that even on the life of ordinary men, we should always be wise and not ignorant so we can't be easily fooled.